Nick Angstadt from Locked On NBA, joined now by John Karalis of the Locked On Celtics podcast. John Karalis, you doing okay, man? This Celtics team, my God.
I'm all right. I'm okay. Riding that roller coaster, baby.
Absolutely. All right, let's get started with who's going to be in this playoff rotation. I mean, it's been all over the place, it feels like, with Tristan Thompson starting, and then he's not, and then Kemba Walker, he's good, and he's not. Jaylen Brown is now out. Who's in a playoff-type rotation for the Celtics?
So, assuming nothing else happens, which is a great assumption for the Celtics right now, you know that Kemba's going to be in there, and even if they have to play back-to-backs after the regular season, if for some reason the playoff schedule involves a back-to-back, he'll be playing it. So Kemba's in, Marcus Smart is in, Jason Tatum is in. It's got to be Tristan Thompson in there for sure as the starting center, because unless Robert Williams' turf toe is good, either way, one of those guys is going to start, one of those guys is going to come off the bench. So that's part of your rotation. Evan Fournier will either start or come off the bench. Aaron Nesmith may get an opportunity in there, but most likely will come off the bench. And then after that, it's going to be a hodgepodge of whoever fits the matchup. So one day it could be Shemi Ojeleye, and then he might not play again for 2 weeks if they last that long. One day it'll be Grant Williams. Peyton Pritchard's going to get his opportunities. Maybe Romeo Langford. But you've got about 7 guys that are in the rotation, and then 8 or 9, that's going to be whatever Brad Stevens needs to throw against the wall to hopefully work.
What role players are really going to matter for the Celtics? It almost feels like Kemba Walker is that role player now. That's the one that's really going to make or break their playoffs.
I mean, I think Kemba goes beyond role player to me. He's obviously going to have to play a bigger role, but if Jaylen Brown was healthy, I would say that's probably true, but he's going to have to step up. So I don't even think Kemba's a role player. He's more of a star. You can say Marcus Smart, because Marcus Smart has had a tendency to try to do too much. And when he does try to do too much, he ends up hurting the Celtics a bunch because he takes ill-advised shots. He takes quick shots. When he plays a little bit more within himself, he's Marcus Smart, the most valuable guy on the team in a lot of respects. I'm going to go with Aaron Nesmith because he's been this versatile defender that they've been looking for, a high energy guy. Obviously, he's known for his shooting, and his shooting has been pretty great recently, but it's his ability to get in and drive and make the next play and move the ball and defend and be that high energy guy that has gotten him a lot of minutes lately. Now, he's a rookie, and he's only just started to kind of round into this role. Throwing him in there for a big amount of playoff minutes may not be great for him, but he's going to have to find a way to step up. If they don't get somebody beyond their top 6 guys to step up, then I don't even know if they make it out of the play-in.
Whew. That's a long fall from Eastern Conference Finals to not necessarily getting out of the play-in. This Celtics team, what are their biggest strengths and weaknesses? What do they do well? What do they just really suck at?
It's funny because very often those are the same things. Like when Robert Williams is on the floor, it makes a big difference. Robert Williams is one of their best passers. It's him and Marcus Smart who are their 2 best passing guys. And to have one of your best passers as a big, that allows you to run the high post stuff where you run those dribble handoffs, you run those high pick and rolls. You know that you can get him. First of all, he's a supreme athlete. So you know you can get him rolling all the way to the basket. He's going to put pressure on the defense, and you can throw those lobs. He's going to go get them. Secondly, you can hit him in the short roll, and he can pick a team apart from there. He can fake the dribble handoff and then find a cutter. All of those things are much more likely with Robert Williams on the floor. So I can say, hey, they can move the ball pretty well and cut and score when they're whole. When it's Tristan Thompson up there, they don't do it well at all. When they're defending well, when they decide to defend well, they're great. And then at the same time, they turn around and then look terrible. So a lot of their strengths end up being weaknesses, but the most consistent strength is going to have to be Jason Tatum and that elite scorer that is going to have to carry the day some way in a lot of ways. The Celtics just need to move the ball a bit, and Jason Tatum needs to be quick with his decisions and not stand there and survey the defense for 5 seconds before he makes a move. And when the Celtics do move the ball, they can be really, really good. When they don't, they could be really, really bad.
What's been the win profile for the Celtics? What are some of the biggest wins, and then what's the lowest moment of the season in terms of worst losses?
How can I
have
pick
we hit that yet? Yeah, have we hit it?
The loss to Cleveland after Cleveland had lost 11 straight was a low point. The loss to Oklahoma City after the Thunder had lost 14 straight is a low point. Losses to Sacramento. A couple of losses to Cleveland, actually. They've lost to Cleveland twice. Those losses to bad teams are all just killers. But at the same time, they have wins over. They have 2 wins over the Clippers. They have 2 wins over Denver. They have wins over some of the elite teams. I don't want to include the Lakers in there because they didn't have LeBron, but they've beaten good. They got 2 wins over Milwaukee. So the Celtics, this is the maddening reality of their season. They have on one end probably 8 huge big time wins. And on the other side, they've got probably 8 huge big time losses. And that's what a 500 team is, right? Some highs, some lows, some dizzying middles. It's kind of like all over the place with these guys.
Yeah, my team that I covered, the Dallas Mavericks, the exact same boat. Literally the exact same. Huge wins, awful losses, all that. What are the stakes for this team? The big names. Brad Stevens, his name has been thrown around a little bit as he could be in some hot water. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're not going anywhere. But what about Kemba? What are the stakes for this team going in the playoffs?
Well, I think the good thing is that even though there's a ton of outside noise, I think within the organization, they understand that there's a lot that has been a function of circumstance. And so they are not going to overreact to whatever happens, even if they do miss the play-in or fall out of the play-in. If they don't win again this season, and it's possible that they don't, I don't think there's going to be heads will roll type of stuff because of the history of this team. It could just be, even if people make the argument that this team quit on Brad Stevens, maybe this team quit on this season, but I don't know that they quit on Brad Stevens. And I think there's a distinction there. So I don't think the stakes are quite as high as some people want to make it think. However, there is something at stake for, I think, Kemba Walker, where he's got a huge contract, $30+ million. The Celtics are going to be luxury tax payers next year. This ownership group is willing to pay the luxury tax they have before, but they're not exactly the Warriors with unlimited spending. So there might have to be some level of financial consideration in this offseason. And if Kemba Walker goes through all of this and shows that he's somewhat expendable, then he may move this season. That might be the biggest thing that comes out of this, because the Celtics are going to get very expensive very quickly next season when Jason Tatum's extension kicks in. And if they want to re-sign Evan Fournier, they're going to be laying out a lot of cash next season.
Last thing here, what are the national narratives that are the most misunderstood or wrong? Maybe it's that this team is good. A lot of people still think that they're good, and maybe they're not. Maybe I'm trying to think of some national narratives around the Celtics right now. It just seems like no one can get a handle on them.
And that's the thing. I've been struggling with this when I looked at that question. I have no clue how to answer that question because no one has any idea what this team is. We've been struggling, and I feel like I'm just waiting for them to give me the answer. And we're at game 70. And so there is no answer.
Well, let's go through some players then. Is Kemba Walker, a lot of people think that he's done, or think that he doesn't have any more to contribute, or that he all that. Right. Jason Tatum, this elite level player. Marcus Smart, elite defender. Is there anything like that you say? I hear that a lot about these players, but that's wrong.
Yeah, I hear about Kemba and the knee and all of that stuff, and I do think it's wrong to a degree. I think his knee has gotten fine. I don't know if it needs to be he never plays in a back-to-back ever again. Maybe that's the case. And if that is how it is, then so be it. And you might say, well, why are you paying $30 million to a guy who can't play in back-to-backs? That's just how it is.
Another Mavericks parallel there.
Right. But you deal with it as best you can, because you know that when he does play, if he's going to be playing well, then if you can afford it from the ownership side, and if it's not too much of an anchor on your salary cap, then you deal with it. But I don't think Kemba's done. I think there's a lot of noise around Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart has felt a lot of pressure this season to perform, and through the injuries and through everybody else's injuries, and he's trying to do, like I said before, he's trying to do too much. I think Marcus Smart is a very key element to this team, but I guess one of the things that will come up with the Celtics, that's, I think, the seed has been planted, is where are they really? Are these guys, and I brought this up once, are these guys going to be like the Portland Trailblazers of the East, where you got a couple of good players and you're always kind of hovering in that middle spot, and you always feel like you're one player away and two players away, so you tinker more than make big decisions, and the tinkering just ends up keeping you in that middle, and you never make that leap above into the top tier. So that's going to be a question that needs to be answered. But as far as national narratives with these guys, it's hard to grasp a national narrative, because on one hand, they have had all of those great wins. They have looked great. The win over Denver in Denver was huge. And a lot of times on national TV, they've looked great. So people have a certain opinion of these guys that, yeah, they can be good. They can be good. They could come out against Minnesota. They can come out against New York. They can come out in the play-in and look fantastic and have everything be like, wow, maybe they are fixed. I don't know what's coming, man. I'm supposed to tell you what's coming, but that's what this team is. I have no idea.
And that's why you play the games. John Karalis, go follow him, the great Locked On Celtics podcast. John, thanks for joining me.
You got it, man. Thanks.